and then she's going to let us know. So I'll tab back over to my deck. Well, we appreciate everybody's time. I've had several nice conversations with Valerie, so we have a pretty solid understanding of what you folks do. But we'll just dive right into what we have to present. Just a brief agenda for the time. Just start off with some introductions on who we are. Talk a little bit about what we understand so far, and we're bringing a little bit of experience just with our working with other customers to the table as well. I like to highlight what I call the 4 pillars of value, because you're obviously making a large, purchase, and that's a financial and, time-consuming type of situation. So there's got to have value as part of this, and I just want to sort of call out where those areas could be. Talk a little bit about why Microsoft, and then we'll spend the majority of the time actually in a live demonstration, and then we can wrap things up and talk about where we head from here. I do want to at least say, we want this to be a conversation, so please ask questions. We'll probably ask you questions as well. This is the first time that our team has got to speak with the larger Troxler team, so we're still wanting to learn more about what your requirements are and how we can help you with your initiative of a new ERP system. So again, please ask questions, stop us along the way. If we've covered something enough and you're ready to move forward, we appreciate that insight too. And I promise I won't PowerPoint you to death. This is going to be a quick intro. So your presenters today, my name is Jonathan Kroll. I'm an account executive. I've been here for 5 years. Also have Ann Diaz. She is our BC practice manager, but also a project manager. And Ann's remote today. She's not feeling too well, but as you can see from her picture, she's used to managing a lot outside of work as well. And then Tim Fry is going to be doing the live demo for you. And I like to think that he probably wears those shoes when he goes skiing. Maybe not.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, it keeps your feet warm. Solid leather.
We like to have a good time here. These are just some fun photos that we've posted on our website for things that we do outside of the office. We like to show that we actually have some personality as well as all the technical know-it-all.
Yeah, but Jonathan, you probably would have a bigger smile if you had a Wolfpack shirt on instead of that Carolina.
I was wondering how many NC State or Duke fans would be line, and I was willing to risk it.
I think it's worth
it. So just to talk real quickly about LBMC. So we are a firm of about 700 plus folks. We do more than just technology solutions. That's our core business here in Charlotte. But we also offer, advisory services. We have an entire managed service firm that does, IT type managed services. We have an information securities division that focuses on cybersecurity. So I just wanted to point out that, yes, we do Microsoft, everything related to that, but we have a much larger or a broader service offering beyond just your technology needs. If things ever came up down the road where you wanted to have some additional assistance in some of these other areas. I'll pause briefly in case there's any questions about LBMC, who we are. I didn't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on this part because I know you folks want to see the software.
So do you manage like Office 365 and all those types of things as well, desktops?
Oh, absolutely. Hardware also. So, servers or laptops, desktop computers, you name it. It's pretty all encompassing for the managed IT service division.
Okay. And you guys work hand in hand with that group and that division. So then if we were to go with you, we'd have an absolutely incredible deal.
Well, so that is actually part of the technology solutions division that we are also part of. So yes, you'd be in the same family there.
Okay. Thank you.
I think Will had a question.
I was just curious if you guys were a public corporation, what type of corporation you were.
We're private. I don't know if we're S or whatever those different types are, but we are privately owned. We're not public. Okay, cool. We'll keep cruising along. So I wanted to just point out some of the things that I've heard in my conversations with Valerie to date. So, understand that you folks are a construction testing equipment manufacturer. You install this equipment. You also do repair services to it as well. And that's not just your own equipment. I understand that's your competitors. You'll provide service work for that as well. you recently implemented Global Shop, but have realized it's not a really good fit. It's lacking on the service side. I guess it's inventory tracking issues for serialized inventory and various other things is why you're in a position where you're looking for a new ERP software at this point in time. I heard that a lot of stuff is being managed in spreadsheets, which is not, atypical for companies that we work with that, have all these sort of disparate systems managing different parts of the business. You're having to use spreadsheets to cover all the workarounds that the softwares aren't being able to handle. And then just, a lot of data entry and re-entry because of the current systems and how they're set up and not really integrated with one another. Which is causing a lot of lack of visibility, into how the business is performing. It's a lot of manual reporting, a lot of sort of hindsight type of visibility, not really a proactive view of the business itself. And again, we want to learn more about the company as part of what we're here to do today. But hopefully, these sort of issues that are or details are accurate for where you folks are at and some of the pains that you're experiencing. Silence, I think, that's a yes.
Yes.
So quickly, I wanted to talk again about this idea of the 4 pillars of value. So we're firm believers that, again, this purchase isn't going to be made if you're not going to see value out of it at the end. And so these 4 pillars, around revenue growth. So, whether that's improving your costing so that you have more accurate costs and what it takes to produce items or service them so that you can offer better, prices for your customers. Maintaining and growing your market share. So we actually have experience with Instrotech, which I understand is a competitor of yours. They're also evaluating this software solution that you're going to see today. So keeping up with the competition and making sure that your business is, going through that digital transformation to not only maintain your market share, but potentially grow to be have competitive advantages over what other folks in the industry are doing. Being able to improve productivity and actually being able to see that versus just talk about it, right? And we'll actually show you some of these things with the integration with all of the different Office applications like Outlook and Excel and Word, and being able to utilize the things that you're used to using, but having data driven to it from your ERP software. And again, actually improving some of the collaboration and productivity across the company using all of these different tools that Microsoft has. And then the final sort of pillar of value is risk mitigation. And that's could be anything from, making sure that you're tracking the different types of nuclear sources that are in these different gauges and devices, or also risk mitigation from the viewpoint of, our implementation methodology and our experience with remanufacturing and service-based companies and being able to mitigate some of the risk of a new implementation, because you guys are obviously familiar with going through that recently with your Global Shop implementation project. Again, I like to think that this is sort of driving a lot of the different decisions that you'll make, and the things that you'll see hopefully are going to be categorized in these different areas as we go through the presentation today. So now I want to talk just, why Microsoft. So it's this idea of intelligent business applications in the cloud. This is sort of the infinity loop of the Dynamics 365 offering. You've got Business Central sort of sitting in the middle here. That's the ERP product we're going to look at today. This is just a tier 1 product from Microsoft. This used to be Dynamics AX. So that's, for multinational large corporations that have millions of dollars to spend on ERP. And then this is just a couple of modules for HR and a point of sale system, again, that works with the F&O product. But again, we're going to focus on Business Central today, but just to call out some of these other items. So, these are the CRM components, if you will, that are part of the Dynamics 365 family. So Business Central has a lot of this functionality for projects and field service and sales and customer service and even marketing as part of the core system. And you'll see some of that today. But you do have the ability to expand into these other applications for more functionality, more features. As your company continues to grow, there's other Microsoft applications that can help you grow with those different systems. And then we'll just sort of go around the infinity loop here. So I mentioned the integration with Office 365. You'll see that today. We'll show you some of that stuff. There's also these other, sort of applications where you can build your own line of business apps with Power Apps. Power Automate is essentially like a cross application workflow so that you can do, if then type of statements, but not just in your ERP software. You could say, hey, if we create a new customer in the system, then, we want to send them a welcome letter, via Outlook or through Exchange, those kind of cross application workflow scenarios. And then a common data service is just the idea that you can standardize your data and have it all in one place so that you can then do reporting and things using like Power BI and other tools. AppSource is for everything that is outside of, what we were just looking at. So it's basically an app store for enterprise software. You can actually get to it directly from within Business Central, where you can say, hey, we're interested in doing barcoding. We don't have that today. And it'll actually show you some different add-on products that do barcoding. And InsightWorks is one that we work with a lot. They have a really nice shipping solution and warehouse management product and a shop floor insight solution that helps capture time and do QA type or quality assurance type of exercises. ChargeLogic is just a credit card processing solution. So mainly, I just wanted to point out that this is an area that, again, you can sort of expand and improve your system with plug and play type of products. And they're all listed in this AppSource environment so that you can search them and find them as you need. And the final area that I wanted to call out before we get into the demo is this top section. So you're going to see Power BI. We don't really have the capability to show anything for Internet of Things, but this is, essentially being able to, track, maybe if you have a way that these gauges are outputting some sort of data that you can capture and then start to analyze to say, surface performance issues or be able to do preventative maintenance type of work for products before they actually break. But then also the artificial intelligence, which I want to dive into a little bit further because this is where a lot of money is being spent for Microsoft. So again, it's kind of the idea of not being reactive and becoming more predictive using AI to analyze your data and surface information. And Microsoft is building these applications for Business Central and the ERP products as well as all the CRM solutions as well. And these are free and they're in market today. So you have an image analyzer where basically you can upload a picture of an item and it's going to start to populate some attributes based off of identifying in that picture. So, it kind of knows that this is a table, it's an indoor table, that's a piece of furniture. These are just additional attributes that you can tag to your inventory items, and it can automatically do that for you. Another example is the late payment prediction. So, if you have folks that they're constantly, clients that are constantly paying their bills late, you can actually surface that to a sales rep and say, hey, this person doesn't pay on time very often. Are you sure you want to move forward with an order with them? Another example is the inventory forecast extension. So, the reason that I'm sort of calling these out here is that this stuff requires, several periods of data to actually be effective or even populate any information. So we have the slides here versus the demo database doesn't have the enough data, I guess, if you will, to sort of show some of these things. But it can take into account seasonalities or, just when certain items are being purchased a lot to help you plan accordingly so that you have inventory on hand for those, those predicted sales. And then there's a similar sort of option for this on the cash flow side. So, sort of considering what is on the horizon, what are your actual receivables and payables, but also what are you expecting to see based off of, open orders in the system and a variety of other components. So again, these are things that Microsoft has created. They're creating more of them, and this is free software that you can utilize to start to be, more more predictive and have a little bit more intelligence coming out of your system so you're not so reactive and looking at historical information and trying to make decisions. And this is actually one from Tim here, which I love, and I try to put it in all the presentations. Let's just let technology improve our business so that we can focus on doing other things like going out inside and play. I just sped through all of that. And again, I wanted to get to the demo as quickly as we could, but what questions might there be, whether that's on, the Power App stuff or AppSource or artificial intelligence or anything else that I may have not covered?
I think we're
Just
good.
putting everybody, that's all it is. So the final point that I want to make is this is all mobile. Everything's available on phone, tablets, iOS or Android. I was going to try to show that today with the screen share on my phone, but of course it's not working for me. But again, just pointing that out that it is available to get on a mobile device and access all of this stuff. That said, we'll go into a live demo.
Is that an
So,
extra
I got a
fee?
question for you real quick. Are
Is your mobile
the
secure?
iOS and like the phone applications, is that something that is you pay extra for?
no, you do not. It's free apps. You just have to log in, and you have the correct credentials. You get access. There's no extra charge.
Okay, so that's like a per license. You have access to all those things.
Right. Yeah. If you have the Business Central license, you could log in through a browser, or you could download an app on any device and log in through that. Great question. This agenda was in the meeting invite. Hopefully no surprises here for what we plan to show and talk about. But I think that's enough from me at this point in time. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Tim so that we can hop in and look at the software. So, request? I don't think so. I don't think you have to request it. You can just go and share. Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. Okay. So like Jonathan mentioned, my name is Tim Fry. We're gonna get into the live walkthrough, the transactional details, and really dive in a little deeper on Business Central here in just a second. I wanted to start off talking a little bit today about sometimes the ultimate goal of the ERP system, and that's not really the real goal of it. In the end of the day, is to make better decisions. You want to take the information that's in your ERP system and be able to do something with it to act and make intelligent decisions about your company. And that's where this, Power BI, which is part of the Microsoft suite of products that Jonathan mentioned, plugs into Business Central and allows you to do a lot of really nice reporting. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and take a look at what sort of information you can leverage from Business Central to really understand your business a little better and using Power BI. So this is a typical dashboard. We have 4 different areas that we have data on. Overall company performance data, similar to financials, sales data, operations, and more detailed financial data. And this is Power BI is primarily what I consider a visualization tool. It's a way to look at your data and interact with it. It's live to your system. So on a refresh, 20 minutes or whatever you set it to be, and you can dive in and really understand, kind of delve into your company and look at it and slice it and dice it and see where your different sales come from. And as you drill into one table or chart, you can see, in this case, our demo company has a metalworking service business, and you can see what portions of the overall revenue in this period are due from that metalworking business. And the amount of charts and graphs you can make with this are pretty infinite. So here we're looking at invoice sales by week and by business segment. This company has 2 main dimensions that they relate their data on, and that's business segment and product code down here. If we hop over to the sales data, this is kind of all set up as a weekly sales report. But the other thing that I see people doing with Power BI that's really useful is like a sales report for each salesperson by day or by week, but specific to that person. And we've got a little version of it here, but companies go pretty in depth with these sometimes so that the salespeople can see commission payouts or whatever they have in that business. So here, this is coming out of the CRM portion of Business Central, where they've set up campaigns to try to track where their sales are coming from. So in this case, there's a sale coming from just long-time repeat business, referrals from other people, emails or online search. So they're capturing that data in the sales process, and you can report on it. Campaigns have a lot of other really powerful and nice uses, which we'll get into. The salespeople are recording opportunities like you see in a lot of CRMs. As they record that opportunity, it generates a pipeline for them, but it also provides the executives in the company with a forward-looking view of sales. Presumably, a growth in revenue opportunities is going to equal future growth in revenue, we hope. So you can use this to kind of look forward at your business too. And then I know you have a repair component of your business, and so you can look at, in this case, we're looking at late and on-time deliveries and ship versus repaired orders per week. So what our incoming versus outgoing is, and so on. Stop me if you have any questions on this, but it's just a really, really nice way to look through your data, and it's not difficult to use either. If you want to make another graphic, you can do, say, I'm going to minimize this. So we want to look at regional sales. So we could look at, say, zip code, and then in this case, company's case, the product code. So what does our product sales look like globally? Well, plenty of East Coast sales. So if we want to dive into that, we can add a filter on product code. It's already there. And by the way, Power BI is something that Microsoft's putting a lot of money into. So it's changing almost monthly. They just update and update and update. So that's driving into just this particular ADE product code, and you can dig through sales by region or territory on that basis. And I don't know exactly what's important to you. As time goes on, feel free to stop and ask me about it. I don't know what metrics you're really reporting on.
Okay, so can you show us how to bring an opportunity through a pipeline / funnel all the way to placing the order?
Yeah, sure. We're gonna go through that. So yeah, let me. If you guys want, I can switch over to the BC side of the demo, and we can start going into that.
Yeah, Power BI is nice because it can connect to multiple data sources as well. So this is data fueled from the Business Central application, but that could be CRM or really any other system. Any questions on Power BI before we do move forward? Because our next part of the agenda was actually to go into the sales area of Business Central. All right, let's dive in.
Once the data available, you don't really have to do much to get the inputs available. So your fields.
So Power BI, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All your fields are available. They're kind of, we don't have to do anything special to get those fields in there, and build databases or anything. It's all, that's a question.
It's taking it from existing tables. It's nothing we have to customize or bring, get somewhere else. This is all from existing tables.
Yeah, it's all existing tables in Business Central. You're connecting Power BI to Business Central. I think there's some starter pack stuff that's set up, and then depending on what you want to set up, most businesses have their own needs. You're pulling the BC data. And you will see me, pretty much the Microsoft suite of products is pretty tightly coupled to Business Central. So you will see me popping in and out of, this is Business Central, but you'll see me popping into Outlook to do sales orders. You'll see me popping into Excel to, manipulate some data, and maybe back into Power BI for some reason, because they're all, it's single sign-on. You've signed on to Business Central, so you signed into Office 365, so you're signed on to everything.
So here we are in Business Central, and I think Tim will do a little bit of a orientation to some of these things, and then we'll go into that sales process that was requested.
Yeah, basically just so you don't see me totally clicking around with no idea what the layout is. Just want to take a few minutes and talk about where, how the product is laid out, how we navigate through it, and what you're going to see on your screen. The first thing I wanted to touch on is the concept of role centers. What we're looking at right now is the sales manager role center. Later on in the demo, your operations manager. We can switch to a customer service manager. And all those role centers, I'll point it out when we make the switch, but they'll look quite a bit different from each other. And not only pretty charts and graphs, but also the actionable items that the system is bringing to your attention. In this case, is bringing overdue opportunities to the salesperson's attention. In the case of the operations manager, it'll bring emergency repairs or late jobs to their attention. Additionally, the navigation areas up here are going to change by role center. You don't see much related to shipping or warehousing because not too many salespeople care about warehousing. If we switch to that sort of role, you're going to see not a whole lot involving opportunities. So as we move through the system, a lot of the main areas that you're going to need day to day are right through this top bar. Also in these drop-down areas, you get additional options to move into just different areas of the system. You'll find that most of the things most people need are here. If you get into the weeds and need to go into just something that's occasionally used, you have a search bar up here. This globally searches the system for different areas of system transactions. And you'll probably see me hop up to this light bulb quite a bit, just because I switch role centers so much and I forget, the salesperson role center does have items. So you may see me pop up here and do items to get to the item list. But that's just my force of habit. You can do, it should be there in your role center, probably is in front of me, and I'm just not looking at it. This is the item list. You can choose to see this stuff in different ways, different formats. You can filter on it. Business Central really loves this tile view. I think it looks pretty, but it's not so useful because you can't, your users are used to seeing your data every day. So they want to see it in the list form. But should you choose, you see stuff any way you want. Switch to sales orders, just to pick on them. I like picking on customers because why not? So this is the list of open sales orders in the company right now. Actually, this is a list of all sales orders. If we wanted to filter down to just open sales orders, we can filter that. We can also filter on other criteria if we want. If we want to only see sales orders with, in some region, or in this case, I picked sell to customer name. So if the customer name maybe only starts with S. Filter any list down by pretty much any field. And you can save these fields, or save these searches, sorry, so that maybe you only see open sales orders in your territory, or you only see open sales orders at your location. The other really useful navigation area, just still talking about general navigation, is this box on the right. These are called fact boxes, and they show you The idea behind them is to show you at-a-glance information about that's useful to you in whatever part of the system you're in. So you're going to see this everywhere. You'll see this in the item list. You'll see this in the customer list. You'll see it in the sales order list. So for the sales orders, it shows you customer statistics, outstanding orders, maybe if they're late, overdue, see details. In the item list, it shows you information about items. I'll keep coming back to this area, but I just wanted to kind of point out that this changes as you move through different fields on your list, whatever it is. Clear this filter. One other really useful area, general navigation in the system, is you can export almost any list view, any of these sort of views. You can export and open in Excel. It downloads. And from there, you can start manipulating the data. You can start filtering, start doing whatever if you want. If you're trying to figure out what your ship not invoice for the month is, filter the sales order of the month, and then get rid of the show only the values you want, and you have ship not invoice of open sales orders for the month. Additionally, this list can be edited and pushed back up into the system in some cases. You can't change customer names on a sales order because it's probably not a good idea to do that in such mass. But if you want to edit, say, sales lines or something, what you're going to sell to a customer, that can be done in Excel and pushed back up. Sometimes it's fast to work in Excel. You've got other sheets, you know it. So a lot of these lists can be also edited right in Excel and then published back up to Business Central. And then before we dive right into the sales process, I wanted to talk a little bit about a concept that is system-wide in Business Central. It's kind of core to the system, and this will probably be really useful to financial people. It's the concept of dimensions. So rather than having a very large chart of accounts that shows sales by by region or by customer size, instead we can flatten our chart of accounts and just have a sales account. A dimension is a tag on any transaction in the system. And so you would create a dimension called the customer type sales dimension, and then you can report on your whole financials, P&L, anything you need to off of that customer dimension. The other thing I came up with was a lot of companies use something like a product type or a product code. I don't know if you have those, but you can look at both your revenue and your expenses by the product code, because you're assigning those dimensions when you purchase. You assign them to the items. They're assigned to the customers. So you really can get a look at both revenue and expenses without making your chart of accounts really complicated. So a really powerful reporting tool. You can have unlimited dimensions to categorize your data however you guys need to. And then if we wanted to take a look at that, you can see, even without really diving in all that far, I'm in the customer card right now. So going back to the fact boxes, here it's showing me the list of open sales orders, posted shipments for that customer, and so forth. And right down here, you see the dimensions. So for this customer, he's in the large customer group in area 30, whatever area 30 is in this demo data, presumably sales area.
So it's all about how we set this up for Troxler. Some of these dimensions are sort of auto-assigned to things so that they're automatically, tagged on transactions, but you're also able to have, manual tagging of these dimensions on a sales order. It really just sort of depends on what you're trying to report on, and how you want to view this data, once it's in the system, to sort of dictate how we would configure this. But again, the idea is you have just a natural account for your chart of accounts, and then the dimensions are the slicing and dicing of all of that transactional data on whatever data points you want to slice and dice on. Any questions on that? Is, again, it's sort of a fundamental concept of the system, of how it's set up and how you're going to be able to view data ultimately.
No, we're good. Oh,
It comes from the front end pretty much,
Okay.
you're setting up customers, a lot of it.
okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, so we can go ahead and dive into the sales process a little bit. And while we're in here, we'll talk a little about items as well, since we kind of go hand in hand. Just to keep things simple, and so we're not starting with everything all at once, I'd like to start off with talking about just a simple transaction with a sales quote and turning it into a sales order. And then from there, we'll build on this and talk about how opportunities and campaigns can be used hand in hand to develop your sales cycle and your sales pipeline. Really, I see the quote and order falling in as part of the sales pipeline, meaning at some point after the initial process, or whatever you want to call these are all configurable. But at some point in the sales process, it's time to quote the customer and start talking about dollars, and then the sales quote becomes part of the opportunity in that way. And then as it develops, it becomes more and more fleshed out, and it closes, and that opportunity is won with the sales order. But just to get us started, so we're not diving into everything at once, let's take a look at creating a sales order. So this would be a scenario where a customer calls up and says, I need a quote for this. And then we'll see them, say, quote looks good, and let's go ahead and buy it. So to start a new sales quote, you can open the sales quote list, and then just start a new sales quote. I always like to pick on the Selangorian company. So let's see. Again, it comes up with the fact box on the right. I'm going to minimize this just to get it out of the way for now. And this is broken up in a couple of different areas. There's a general tab with just company information. It starts off with just the basics. If you need to show more, there's a lot more data in here that maybe your salespeople don't want to see every day, but they need to sometimes. Let's go ahead and start an order for an item, and we'll do a no. I don't know if I don't fat finger stuff. And this may not be something that you sell directly. Do you sell this item directly? I'm going to guess not.
Definitely
No,
not.
it's a component of a bigger thing. But that's
All right,
fine.
let's try this. Yeah, either way, you'll get the idea. But I
Okay.
saw that in one of your orders.
That's a good one. Okay.
So this is the very basics of entering an order. And you can do this line by line. I'm going to show you a little bit later a much easier way to do this right from Outlook. But we can sell multiple things. We can sell items. We can also sell resources, say labor.
I know you want to start here, which is fine, but if you were doing the opportunities, because that's the natural flow, right? So if you're going and taking a lead out, turning it into an opportunity, and you fill out the information. So I don't know, I can't visualize it until you show it to me. and then when we turn it to a quote, then will this be populated already, or do we have to write this or type this over again?
You wouldn't have to populate any of the customer information because that's known from your opportunity. Your opportunity is not typically for one specific product or one specific item. It's for the opportunity to make a sale.
We do ours.
Does that answer your question?
No, it didn't. We do ours product based. Sometimes we got to merge it. Sometimes there's two opportunities that'll go onto a quote, but we do it product based. So yeah, if you have the contact information, what else can go over? Do we have the option of bringing in product and quantity and prices because that we're going to be measuring going all the way across from the different phases through the pipeline.
Maybe you could show us an opportunity first, maybe what the opportunity looks like.
Can you start with the opportunity before we get to this thing? I know you said you didn't want to boil the ocean, but we'd like you to boil it.
Sure. So this is the opportunity list.
Well, can you take it we have a lead, right? We take it out of the lead, let's make it into an opportunity. Then we bring it through our funnel and then we go to our sales order.
Sure.
Thank you.
So let me start off by saying that this can be set up any way you need it to be. All these sales cycles, if you wanted to start by calling it a lead and then a qualified lead and then an opportunity, it can be set up that way. None of this is locked down. So I hope that is kind of clear.
One of the things that we would ask though is, can you have product in it?
The way this would work for us is that you would start a new opportunity.
Okay.
And at a certain stage of the sales cycle, it would create a quote, and there is where you would assign the item.
Okay, so we can't. So that's a little bit of an issue for us because we run our supply chain off of our sales pipeline, so we can see what's coming in. We don't have, thankfully, we don't have that long of a quoting process. So once the quote is in, there's outliers, but we like to have it within 30 days. So we'd like to look at the funnel and take a look at predicting what we need as far as production is concerned.
Sure. So just sort of a question here, as you're going through your sales process, I don't imagine that, and this is, again, sort of a question, but at what point are you starting to attach those actual items and dollar values? Is it right out of the gates when you get a lead, or is there a process that you're going through to qualify somebody or whatever other steps to then get to a point where
we're very simple.
Getting items?
We're very simple. You take it from a lead. A lead has no opportunity, but they fit the profile of who we want to call. Then we go to our phase one, which is prospecting. And usually in that conversation, you start talking about an item, maybe a laboratory item, like a gyro. So then we'd put that in the opportunity. All right, they're talking about a gyro and it has a certain value to it. But then we go to the next phase, which is qualifying. And that's when we get into the real details and get all the information, all your buying signals and all that type of stuff. And then we convert that into a quote. Then from the quote, we just go to close one because we don't lose any.
Okay.
But that's it's a real simple process, and but we need to know the value and the product that people are considering. Otherwise, it's just we'll just say there's no improvement from where we are today.
I think there's a little bit of a terminology difference in how we would set things up, but
Okay.
You would end up with sales cycle stages within the opportunity. So your cycle, your first stage in your cycle might be lead, and then you said prospect, And
Prospecting,
then,
qualifying, quoting, close.
so the way we would probably set this up, and I don't think this demo environment is set up quite like this, but we would do the first stage of your opportunity is a lead, and then the second stage is the prospect. And then when it's a qualified prospect, then it must have a quote assigned, and that's when the item is associated.
And the quote and the opportunity are tightly coupled. So as far as the pipeline, I mean, that, you're going to see that revenue, potential revenue and potential sales transaction as part of that, right? I mean, that's how that sort of information gets surfaced into the sales pipeline on the opportunity, quote unquote. But technically, it is a sales quote that was created along with that sales opportunity. Does that help paint the picture of how that?
No, I mean, you're painting it crystal clear, but it's not what we're looking for. So, but I don't want to derail this whole thing. We can talk later about it. Let's see you go from an opportunity to a quote, and then a quote to an order.
Well, just curious, what is not fitting the way that you wanted or needed to?
Because in this scenario, your phase 3, which is quoting, is when you create the quote, and at that point, it's really too late. We want to be able to say product, we'll say gyro for this example. In phase 1, we're talking about it. We don't really know if it's going to happen or not, or when it's going to happen, but there's interest. But I want to be able to pull up a product, which is the gyro, and put quantity 1. An example, somebody's opening up a new lab. They're going to need all sorts of different stuff, but we don't know when it is or things like that. Then from that point, you go to qualifying. And at qualifying, now you're asking who are the decision makers, when do you have it? Do you have it in budget? And blah, 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 blah. And so then you're now really narrowing it down, but we still need it by product and quantity so we can have the values with it. And then that information turns into a quote.
And we might be able to choose that, but just for the sake of time, is it Tim? I'm sorry, Tim. Maybe we can just keep going because we're
Right.
kind of getting bogged down. So just to get everything else, maybe we could show us what the quote, what you were doing before.
Sure. Well, okay. And then the last thing I'll mention about this is that we can assign it doesn't have to be the third stage or late in the opportunity session. We can create the first one right here at the initial phase, start the quote. So it can go on right at the beginning of the process.
And I get what you're saying. I mean, they're associating that information before they get to the quoting process. And honestly, this is probably a good example of when the CRM applications that are within the Dynamics 365 suite would be applicable, which has a lot more functionality for that sales process and being able to capture a lot more detail on opportunities and a lot of other stuff that you're talking about. So that may be a consideration as well, that you would utilize another app for that, basically. But we'll move forward with sort of the rest of the sales process. We appreciate the questions and comments, so keep them coming.
All right. We were, and do feel free to keep stopping me. I mean, I'm perfectly happy to have this be a conversation that's entertaining. I'm going to pop this back out just to take a look and make sure we do have these. Yep. Okay. So that took a second to refresh, but one thing I come to a lot as I'm building orders and quotes, because I want to make sure the transaction goes through, is to make sure we have stock in it. And so item availability shows me, what's on hand, and I can see that we do have 40 in the blue warehouse. And as your system gets more complicated, this will show what's on its way in, but reserved for other orders, and so forth. Go ahead and add some more stuff. One thing, it's useful. You guys have talked a lot in your RFP or your requirements document about item tracking. Is that something you wanted to get into now? It's right here on the start. It can start as early as the sales quote. I can also come back to hit it a little later when we're talking about the warehouse or assembly area. I'm going to go ahead and set it because it's not going to let me go all the way through this transaction until with the setting on this item means serial number all means I have to have it always. So I'm going to set an item or tell it which serial number we're gonna transact with. And I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about serial number tracking later. But this is the basics of a quote. One important thing on the quote, at least by the time you place the order or go to ship the order, is the shipping and billing area. In Business Central, we have, you may have a single customer, but you have multiple ship tos. And I think this was something that I saw you ran into. You can have multiple shipping addresses for every customer. I think this particular customer doesn't have multiple. I can show you later one that does, or you can just make a new one and this going to 2580 Smith Street. And
if you don't have multiple billing for one customer, is it one billing account per customer, but multiple shipping addresses?
This particular example is ship to is.
Yeah, but not billing.
No, but we've run into that with other customers as well who need multiple third-party billing, and we can handle that.
No, we don't want that. I'm just wondering if you had it, because we really do want single billing. That's what I was asking. So you do have single billing, but multiple shipping.
Multiple shipping.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And if you have international addresses, it can accommodate all those additional fields as well.
Yeah, you can see this is an international address. Let's see. So let's go ahead and convert this into an order. Okay, in this case, we jumped the process and we created an order right off the bat from the quote, and the opportunity was closed because we won the order. Well, do you want to close the opportunity? I'll say yeah. We'll give myself a pat on the back. Competent consultant. So this is an order. Looks very much the same as the sales quote. It is very much the same. I think it's field for field, almost the exact same document. One really nice thing you can do with these, with orders and quotes, you can email them directly from the system. You can email them and edit them first. You can open them in Word if you want to cheat and say extra things about it. Sometimes companies choose to prohibit this so that the document can't be edited, and we just use PDF strictly. It's up to you guys. I think you mentioned that you wanted to be able to open in Word, and so that's here. Did you guys have any questions about the basic order entry process?
What kind of holds do you have? Do you have any, like, I assume credit holds and sales holds, or any kind of hold capability, shipping holds? So if a customer something but he didn't want to ship right away.
You can block customers. You can block them from shipping, you can block them from invoicing, you can block them from everything.
Not block the customer, block just the order. So it might be,
So
you might have
hold
orders, but only one can't ship, yes.
That's I guess that, what would.
Okay, so on the order level, is there a place for you to hold an order, not the customer account, but the order itself? So if someone needed to get, let's say, a license approval for a particular order, you can put a hold on the order level, but not necessarily on the customer because he has other stuff that can ship.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you could do that. We can use this approval process to where we can set that order so that has to be approved and released. We could work within the release system of the order and choose not to release orders until we're ready, and no order can be transacted with until it's released.
When you mean release to shipment or production? What do you mean by release?
Well, release would cover either of those scenarios. Release basically allows the sales order to start any downstream action that would happen from a sales order, whether it's production, assembly, sales, service. None of that can happen until the order's been released.
Okay, thank you.
And as we get into the details of design, there may be other ways we want to skin that, but for sure there's ways to keep your orders from accidentally going out to the floor, going out the door before you're ready. There's a lot of ways to do that. Let's see. One other thing within the sales area I was going to mention is campaigns. Is that something that you guys do? Do you run like discount campaigns or anything like that? Any standard discounting?
We do. We'll run some like promotions, and then marketing will help out by sending some campaigns out to everybody.
And there's like 20% off of this product line, or is it everything that we have?
Like some sort of discount or trade-in value or things like that.
Okay. Yeah, so this might be interesting. That's something that we get asked a lot, and Business Central is a pretty powerful discounting and campaigns section. So you can set certain campaigns up, be whatever it's for. Every campaign has segments that they are targeting. So this campaign is targeting only specific customers that belong to this segment. And in this case, I've only got a few customers in here that are part of this. You can also set just certain items or groups of items or groups of customers to be affected by those campaigns. So, for example, if we want only this group of customers that we targeted for this campaign, we assign them to that segment, and then we can automatically say, okay, well, for this campaign, we're going to bring in certain sales discounts, and we're going to use this offer, and this whole group of products are in this case, we'll do a campaign for the finished goods products. Any item that belongs within that discount group will now be a part of this campaign. So if you wanted to do you have an item called a wheel tester or something?
Yeah,
wheel tracker.
Yeah.
You can set it just for wheel trackers. and set what the discount's going to be, and that's your spring campaign. Business Central will automatically apply those campaigns as long as they have met the criteria. It's the right customer, it's the right item. They get the 10% off when they call to place the order. Additionally, if you have 2 campaigns running and maybe that customer gets a standard 30% discount, the system will always automatically take into account whatever the better discount is. That way your customer gets your best price.
Cool.
And of course, you can, it's all captured on the, order, and you can start to see the effectiveness of these campaigns as well, see what's, been successful. Are there other areas of the sales area? What we had?
Not unless you guys had any other specific questions about sales.
No, but maybe at some other time we can do a demo of the CRM packet.
Definitely, and I've actually noted down that I'm gonna send some videos along after this, that we just have some videos on the sales module, and we could absolutely do another demo, a live demo of that if we needed to as well. The videos maybe give you a quick intro to it.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I appreciate your time. I'm gonna have to bounce off this call, and I'll circle back, and I look forward to seeing that recording.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So next, we were going to head into the service area, I believe, right?
Yeah. So let me get back to the main screen. I'm going to switch role centers now to get into the customer service role center.
And what were you in there? You were in the Business Central. That's the sales in CRM.
Yep, it's called Sales and Relationship Manager. And now I switched to like a more customer service oriented role. So this, it looks quite a bit different. It's much more down to business, and a lot more specific to what this role is intended. It's customer service manager, and in this case, that means specifically service. I know a lot of companies, customer service means essentially inside sales, and they handle everything. In which case, we would just pick a different role center. So, talking about service, you mentioned that you repair your own product and other people's.
Correct. Well, yes, that's correct.
And when something comes in the door, do you have standard work that you do, or do you just kind of like fix whatever components are broken?
So every model that we sell, every equipment we sell, we offer, of course, service. So it can come in for maintenance. So just calibration, typical, like you would bring your car in for oil change and stuff, or it could be sent in because it's not working properly, which would be repair. So that's the service centers that we have around the country. But we also have field service, which some of our equipment is too heavy, too big to be shipped back to us. So we send out a technician to service it. So they would have to be able to enter work orders out in the field also.
Okay. And is there detailed scheduling that goes into getting them in the right place at the right time?
Yes.
Does that cause you headaches, or is it manageable?
Yes. It causes headaches. Yeah, I have Eric Hayes is here, who is the service supervisor, so he can speak to that. The scheduling aspect is kind of missing right now of that field service. We don't have it, so that is something we need.
Okay, good. Yeah, what we're going to take a look at today is a little more of the nitty gritty of how the service actually works, but we also have a really nice visual based scheduler called, well, there's a couple, but Dime Scheduler is one of the really nice ones. And and we can maybe arrange to have that showed to you as well. Plugs right into Business Central, and it lets you schedule graphically in kind of whatever level of detail you want. It's a nice solution.
Okay, and I'm also going to just throw a little wrench in the works here. So when our stuff comes back, it's really everything that we sell, service, whatever has a serial number attached to it. So the service side, especially, well, even sales, but especially service, when something comes in, it has to be able to be tracked by that serial number, which would have shipped from here originally, and then it has to come back in, be repaired, or sometimes even disposed of, and then either shipped back out or whatnot. But it has to be basically go through that serial number. And to make it even a little more complicated, our nuclear gauges have a serial number for the gauge itself, but the two sources inside of that gauge have their own serial numbers. So that is something that's unique to us as far as a product coming in for service. We have to be able to track that service. And also for regulatory requirements, we must tell the government, the NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Agency, what is in this building at all times for service. So that is something we would have to link to all our work orders. So just want to throw that at you.
Okay. And then does a given nuclear gauge can have multiple serialized peak components in it?
No, it's the serial number of the unit itself, which all our products have. But then what makes the gauge unique is inside of them, the two sources, the ambi and the cesium source, each have a specific serial number. So the most serial number you're going to have in a unit is 3, the unit itself and the two sources.
And then when they come in for repair, does sometimes say the cesium source get replaced? Now it's a different serial number?
No, that's not, it can happen, but that's very uncommon. So that serial number of that unit and the serial number of those sources will stay together for the most part, pretty much forever, unless for some reason we do change out the source, but that's an oddity. So basically they stay together. But according, for our reporting purposes for the NRC, we have to tell them not only the serial number of the gauge, but what source numbers are with that serial number.
Okay. And this is a product that you built?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we're gonna, obviously, like, since this is something that you're bound to in a regulatory situation, like, oh, I want to make absolutely sure we dot every I and cross every T, but I'm not hearing anything that is too spooky in terms of anything I've heard. And we'll get into this in a little more detail, but in our production and assembly areas, and I think you guys will be probably using in Business Central what would be called assemblies, which is more taking pieces and putting an item together than it is making chips on the shop floor. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like, are you making chips? Are you taking raw material and turning it into finished goods?
We're the whole deal. So we make material, we make our boards, and then other stuff we bring in, but we are basically a little bit of everything. So we do raw boards, we solder stuff, we make stuff, machine shop. We're everything.
Okay. So you may be looking at actually the manufacturing area as well. Either way, it's not going to make a ton of difference for the way that serialization is handled, because an item that you're either building as a component or assembling can have item tracked components inside of it. So you're making, you may use production to do the circuit boards and your machine shop to make chips. But at the end of the day, you assemble those pieces into one finished good. So you have that parent serial number, and then you have the serial numbers, and really every item tracked within that assembly.
Well, not everything is not everything is serialized, but I guess the point I just want maybe to understand as we go through this is that need for the serial number of at least the gauge at the least is interwoven in everything we do. Every single aspect of what we do has to do with that serial number. When things come back, when they go out. So it's in manufacturing, it's sale, when we put the order in, sometimes we assign serial number. So I just wanted to, let you know that. So, it's in basically everything we do. The main thing we need to be able to do is go in and say, this order had this serial number go in it. Right now, we can't do that. It's in there. In the manufacturing, we can't get that out of it. So when a gauge comes in and Eric in service needs to look up that serial number, there's no place to do that. I guess that's what we're just trying to say, that is very important to us, that serial number be trackable, easily trackable within all of the aspects of this system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so I've been working with medical device companies for most of the last year. So there's nothing that's like really too alarming with any of that. So it's very similar to the medical device world from what I'm hearing so far. And if you go in, you can see item tracking for any item. Reasonably easy. In this case, we've got 2 different serial numbers in stock of this item. And if we want to look at, additional information, it's all right here. This is whatever you want to say. You can block it. You can add more notes, add comments. These serial numbers, once they're attached to something, the system will, if you're trying to cheat it and not treat those serial numbers right and move them through the system correctly, it's going to fight you. There's a lot of pretty good built-in restrictions that make sure you don't mishandle serial numbers and accidentally, get your inventory out of whack.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? These serial numbers actually come back in, we
Yes.
manufacture it, they go out and they come back on an annual basis, and it could be, so you can have the same serial number and multiple transactions in the system.
Yeah, and I'll show you that here in just a second. It starts as early as the service quote. Every time the item comes in, it's going to be a service quote or a service order. These items are tracked as unique property of the customer. So where an item, in this system and most systems, an item is something that goes in inventory. You own it. There's a cost of goods against it. And one day you sell it and you get revenue for it. And that's no different in Business Central. But we also have the concept of a service item. Service item has a lot of the same characteristics. A service item may even be an item. So a service item, let's see. A service item in this case is this particular item. I think this is your wheel tracker. But the difference between this and a regular item is that a service item has a serial number and is owned by a customer. Does that make sense?
Well, that right there is a nuclear gauge, and that serial number, regardless of who owns it, that serial number goes with that gauge. So we would have sold that to a customer and that belongs to them. But then when it comes back for service, we would bring it in again under that serial number and service it and then ship it out again.
Yep. And so what you can do is set your items. When you set up your items, you can set them such that when you sell it, it automatically creates a service item. And so when you sell a serialized item, a service item automatically gets created for that customer. So now you might have sold.
I'm sorry, wouldn't that be everything that we service then? We would we would want that for everything, because a lot of things come in for service or maintenance, so we can just set that as a blanket, right? I don't want to get too detailed.
Yeah, you very well may want to.
No, that's fine.
Yep. I mean, you might not want to set your nuts and bolts that way, but all your real items,
Sure.
yeah, have them be created as a service item when they're sold, and then you have a record when they come back in. You already know who owns it, all that, and you can also create a service item on the fly. So for maybe what you didn't originally sell, it's your competitor's product, and you're servicing it, then you would just manually create a service item.
Go ahead, sorry, I didn't mean to say.
No, this is a good conversation. It ties into the fundamentals of how service works, which is kind of important to understand. So the idea of service is different than the idea of anything else because you're working on customer's property. So when you make a service quote or a service order, it's for work on a specific. I'm going to pick on this one. Also, you can have brutal spelling in here, and it figures it out. In this case, when you're doing service work in the system, sure, you're doing work on that item, in this case, nuclear gauge for you, but it's specifically that serial number that you're doing work on. And so it's a nice feature. It separates it from being a real item. I've seen other systems that they're actually bringing an item back in, which carries a financial cost and ups their inventory and everything else. You're not doing that. What you're doing is working on customer property here. And then when you're doing it, you have a record of previous services just for this item. And you can use this to drill into what components you've replaced in the past. So in this way, you have a record of exactly what work has been done to this particular unit in the past. And this is really by customer and by customer location. So if you have a big customer that has multiple locations, this is the one that belongs at whatever in Milwaukee. So just to backtrack and kind of set the scene again, we've established that we've got service items created for these items we've shipped so that we can work on them in the future. So let's say that one comes in, it's coming in for repair. The serial number has been automatically created when it was sold to them several years ago. And now it's back in for repair and we need to evaluate it and quote it. So we have the service quote for the service item. And then if I look in on this item, I can go to service item worksheet. And we can say what it is we're going to do to this item. In this case, I switched to an example with a pump. So we're putting in some labor. This is all the things that we're saying it needs in order to repair it. Putting your labor, we need the bearings, we need an impeller. They probably did a number on this one, they did a shaft, and so forth. And then for the item, we can assign fault reasons, what the customer said it was, what we found out that it was, and then what the resolution is going to be. I'm not sure if we have resolution set up. Yeah. And this can be used to feed back towards the engineering department to help them understand why things are coming back, and what work is being done to fix it. We can also set repair status quotes.
I was just wondering if Eric asked if there was a note field anywhere. Is there just a
Just
open
codes,
text?
or is it a note where you can actually enter notes about the repair?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just didn't know.
Yeah.
Options.
It's back one screen here. Yeah, let me come back to that. There's you can do comments on the line. You can also assign. There's 4 areas. There's the fault reason, and then there's the resolution. So you can put notes that will come up on, say, the order that says this is what broke, and resolution comments, or this is what we did to fix it. Then you can have internal comments, which just would never go to a customer. There's one other I'm forgetting.
That's okay. We're just wondering if there was a free form. So there's a free form besides just the codes.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. One other thing that you can do on this is you can set checklists. There's a little product from InsightWorks that we often like to include in with companies that are doing a lot of service work that would help your technicians. So if you always have certain standard things you want your technicians to check, and you want to be able to look back on it in the system, say measurements they made or whatever, or outgoing quality control documents that you want to send that says this is what measurements we got and this is why we're saying it's calibrated now, or we're certifying it to be correct, and you want to output that documentation, you can attach a checklist into this module that often works really well for, I think, for what it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I actually came from I have 10 years in operations, and it was at a service and repair company, and we used this module and we used the checklists extensively for incoming and outgoing QC. So
they have that in manufacturing too.
Couple other things before we move to, I don't want to spend too much time on service quotes, but it's worth noting that you can put in troubleshooting steps for your technicians. And each one has what to do. If their customers complain that they have motor problems, then this is what the steps of what they ought to be doing to fix it, or at least common ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see the component list. We can handle this in one of two ways. We can pull the BOM that it was built on. So you have the BOM components from the original item. Or sometimes that doesn't make a lot of sense to do because it's got nuts and bolts and a bunch of stuff you'll never replace or don't even care about. And so you only set up components to replace for the commonly repaired parts of the machine. You can do it either way you want.
Okay.
All right.
This same document, the service quote and the service order, would be used also in the field service scenario where you're on-site charging for a repair, in which case.
And this could be a mobile app, obviously. I mean, they're not going to have, they could have their phones with them and do this, correct? I think you said that before.
And that's probably what they would do.
Yeah.
Phone or a tablet.
Okay.
I think this is an example. I don't remember if I set it up exactly for on-site repair or not. We can look. But yeah, so we've got some resource time in here. You can insert starting fees, and you can insert there it is. You can insert starting fees and travel fees as they're set up. So if you have a standard fee, if they're even gonna get in their car and shut the door, it's $95, then insert the starting fee. And in this case, it's a bargain, but you can have it be your $360 starting fee or whatever. Hopefully you guys get. So some of that stuff can be set so that if the If the service order is a type of field service, then we're automatically going to insert those fees. Do you do that, or is it all one-off?
They're standard usually.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're usually standard fees.
yeah.
So they would be preset. That's nice.
Okay, yeah. Do you do stuff on a service contract, or is it just one-off orders?
Yeah, we do offer
Yeah.
service contracts, yeah, so.
And does
So
that
is that-
service contract sort of mean free parts and labor?
Yeah, it's prepaid, so the customer pays either a year or 3-year service contract, so they pay up front for it, so when their equipment is serviced, of course, we have to have some way to, mark it as a service contract,
Without charging.
but without charging the customer.
So is that something you can load into the customer, the contract for the 3 years? So it kind of automatically shows that it was done, but not charge it? Because right now I think that's just manual, isn't it?
Yeah, right now with the system we're using, it's hard. We don't have a way to input and track the service contracts easily. So it'd be great if that could be entered in
Yeah,
for the
preloaded.
customer. So when we bring it up and when we open a service
Yeah,
work order, that would automatically show us if they have a service contract or not. So,
kind of like preloaded into.
yeah.
And that's what would happen. If you had a service contract that included, for this customer, included maybe only certain items or all items, when you start a service order, it will come in with their discount rate. So if it's a prepaid contract, then we do 100% discount, and we can say on parts or on labor, and then that makes it so the service order is never charged to them. But we still recognize the cost of it against the revenue of the contract revenue.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So that'll happen automatically if you set that up as a service contract, then your day-to-day, whoever's entering the service orders doesn't need to worry about whether they're charging the customer or not, because it'll be included, as long as they're within their period and so forth.
Okay.
It also defers the revenue.
Very good.
No, I don't like it.
Our accounting
don't
person
like it.
likes it, but not the
Accounting
service
likes it
person.
deferred, I don't, yes.
Am I signed in?
Where are you trying to go? Oh, to the pictures.
Oh. Let's see.
I don't know what's next on the, is it manufacturing?
Let's see. Yeah, we wanted to get through purchasing and assemblies. Maybe we do talk about assemblies, and a lot of the core principles are going to apply in the manufacturing environment. Manufacturing is going to bring in a lot more nuts and bolts about scrap and how much time and capacity planning and that kind of thing. A lot of the fundamentals of how things are built is also kind of in this assembly area. Do you build assemblies ahead of time, or do you build them when the customer orders it?
Both.
You put stock on the shelf? Both?
For some things, we do both.
Okay. We have, we can show it.
Is there something you'd like to see, James, in particular?
I mean, just the normal
Okay.
sort of process.
Okay. James is our planner, and he would know all about this stuff. So if you just want to show us what you have here, and you can ask questions.
Is this creating a work order?
This would create, is a work order what drives the creation of an item?
Are you actually doing it, or can we see how it is created from like a master schedule?
Yeah. I'll show you the requisition worksheet.
Order planning, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I didn't realize you were doing full manufacturing. So I don't know that I have assemblies set up to do replenishment like that, but it's pretty similar to purchase-based replenishment, which I can show you as well. Planning just takes it one step further.
Okay.
Or we can look at manually creating the assembly order.
I don't think James is interested in that.
Most of our stuff's going to be created from a plan.
I'm sorry, what?
Most of our stuff will be created from a master schedule.
Yeah, so we would need the master
So
schedule.
in other words, we would release work orders from the master schedule rather than just manually create every one of them.
Yeah. And that's fine. There's a pretty robust system for order planning and for managing manufacturing, assembly, and purchasing. Unfortunately, I didn't set up items that will work well with that. They need certain criteria set. As I'm sure you're aware, they need to have, we can kind of talk a little bit about it. Let's see.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me just ask a few questions rather than try to put it together on the fly. Are you able to create work orders from forecasting?
Yes. Even purchasing from forecasting.
Right. So there's forecasted demand, there's actual demand, and you can create a master schedule based on both. That's what we're looking for.
Yep. When you run the planning worksheet or the requisition worksheet, you choose at that point in time whether or not you want to include the forecast, and up until when. Yeah, hit me with more if you have specific questions about how that stuff works.
I mean, it's kind of hard to just paint a scenario without seeing what you actually have.
Maybe we could come back to that at a later date if you want to just skip ahead to something else.
We definitely can, yeah. But just to give you a quick look at kind of what's available when you're in talking about replenishment, you're telling it how you want to replenish the item. You can set lead times, vendors if there are, or your production information. Whether you want to generally make it to stock or to order, and you can do exceptions and all that. And then what your quantities that you want the system to use are. Additionally, the system will attempt over time to forecast using AI. Remains to be seen how perfect that is right now, but it's a nice look forward to the future when maybe the computers will get a lot smarter. But right now, this is what I think most people really trust is what they've set up. Yeah, and we can definitely come back and dive into that pretty deep.
Yeah, I think we should.
Manufacturing.
We can just skip this actually. Let's just go on to the next. And then James could, maybe you can talk to him one-on-one.
Sure. Manufacturing and distribution in Business Central is one of the kind of core things that it's always been really good at. So there's a lot of detail in that, which is why it's just hard to throw together on the fly. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and make a quick order. So one thing I wanted to mention with sales orders, you don't have to do everything through Business Central. Something that often is really nice for guys in the field is to stay within one environment. Either this is your salespeople, your purchasing people, or guys on the road. And within Business Central, I was getting ready to do orders via the same old order screen, and it occurred to me that I could also show you, other ways. So there's a plugin for Business Central that works inside Outlook and is essentially the same interface. So you can do not absolutely everything, all the common tasks that people do 100 times a day when they're interacting with the system. So sales quotes, invoices and sales orders, purchase orders, that sort of thing are all right within the Outlook environment. And so we can create an order from within Outlook. So in this case, I set up an example where the customer emailed this account, and then they said, let me back up. We're interested in getting one piece of the wheel tracker. Can you provide a quote? And you can go from right here into the quote process. The Microsoft takes a stab at trying to find your line items based on the information in the email body. Whether or not it does that is, it gives a shot, and it's right enough. Let me make this a little bigger. So you can do all this right here. And you can also pop this out and make it a little bigger. There. So it looks good. And we'll make this into an order. So this is order number 1017. We can stay in there. I'm going to come back out to the bigger screen. And there's that order. This is an item tracked item, so we have to assign a serial number in order to really interact with it. Come here to item tracking lines. We're going to say we want to do that serial number. Alternatively, let me get rid of that. We can do assemble the order. In this case, we're going to build directly from the sales order. So creating a sales order will create the assembly order. My assembly order for this isn't huge. I just put in a few items. But it will tell you, let me go here to availability by BOM. Let's see if there's warnings on here. Yeah. So you can see item availability by the warehouse or by BOM level. And item availability by BOM. That's what I was looking for. So in this case, you're doing an assembly right. You're driving an assembly right from the sales order, and it shows you right from the beginning what you can make and what your bottlenecks are. Your bottleneck is marked right here. They're able to make one parent in this case because you've got a bottleneck at one season control rod. If this is 4, then you would have availability to make for the top item of 4. It'll show you what you can do, calculated availability or actual, and you can apply location filters. One of the other things I saw, your field service has a lot of items in the vans.
A lot of items in the what? The vans?
They carry a lot of items on them. Is that something you track, or do you? Okay. Are they currently?
Oh, yeah, we have inventory in service locations. Is that what you meant?
So that's, you can, make sure to omit that stuff so you're not accidentally seeing what's on a service location when you're trying to make product or sell product, and also track what's going in and out of your service location inventory if we set it up that way.
So you have locations, like right now, every location has their own inventory. So is that how you do it? Every service
Correct.
location has their own, okay. That's how we do it.
Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know if do you typically need to modify your orders kind of on the fly, like you're normally selling this particular assembly, but this one time we need to make it.
No.
We need to add.
No.
It's all pretty.
No, we sell by kit numbers, and those kits we only sell certain specific kits. We don't do like a la carte or anything for our products.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Yeah. Is there any other specific areas you wanted to see? We can definitely come back to the planning side of it.
I think I'm good. I don't. Will and James, are you?
Yeah,
okay?
that's a good overview.
I think Chris is still on. I think we're good. We just, we needed an overview, so this gives us an idea of what it looks like and how it works. So, we can come back with other questions. So that looks good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so our intent was certainly to sort of give you an idea of the core functionality available here. As we learn more about what your requirements are, your specific requirements, we could certainly hone in on more detailed solutions for some of these different areas or functional areas. So hopefully this was at least a good glimpse into, Business Central, what it's capable of, sort of, again, at its core. It's a very flexible platform that you can configure, specific to your needs, and then even sort of customize beyond, what the core product is able to do as well. So, as you guys just, think about what you saw, just maybe keep that in consideration that, a lot of things that can be done, we didn't necessarily show you today. We just wanted to give you a glimpse. So
Okay.
We do appreciate the time that everybody spent with us. And I guess, Valerie, I'll send you the link, or I could just reply to I think just about everybody accepted the meeting. So I could reply back to the meeting with the link to this recording afterwards, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, that'll be fine. And I think there might be a few people who didn't get who aren't getting the invitation. So if you want to send the link to me, I think I can. It probably might be better if I just send it through email.
Yeah.
Perfect. That works.
Okay.
And I will also include some links to additional videos on the CRM applications that sort of extend that area of functionality as well, with the link to this recording.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.